The very latest. All right, let's go back now to Samkele Maseko with regards to reports that the ANC President Cyril Ramaphosa will be subjecting himself to a probe by the governing party's Integrity Commission. Samkele joins us now via the telephone. Samkele, thanks for coming back to us. Let's start off where we left off on the allegations of corruption and, considering the ANC's resolutions at its 54th National Conference. What is the possibility of a list being compiled at this meeting to determine who should step aside?
Essentially, what is happening is that the ANC president has called on ANC structures to refrain from appointing people charged with corruption into positions of responsibility in government, and has gone further to say that all those whom have been charged with corruption must step aside from their positions of responsibility with immediate effect. So essentially the ANC is looking at all of those who have been charged with corruption to step aside from their positions of responsibility, starting from councillors to members of the provincial legislature, to members of parliament, and also to those who are also in the National Executive Committee of the African National Congress.
There's been a number of reports as to what's actually happening in that meeting. One of the reports that we're hearing is the possibility of some changes to the cabinet that's being considered. Any truth to that? What are you hearing?
The rumors and murmurs of an imminent cabinet reshuffle have been there since the beginning, before the lockdown. And many people have expressed that the president had not been happy with certain ministers and deputy ministers, and it wanted to reshuffle his cabinet, and then COVID-19 struck. Those plans were put in abeyance, and with the malfeasance and the alleged corruption that has been going on with regards to state capture and with regards rather to issues of tender fraud irregularities when it comes to PPE contracts, that has all further angered and exacerbated the president's desire to reshuffle his cabinet. It's been there. I've seen international organizations also reporting on a pending cabinet reshuffle in the country. We, as the SABC, have also heard these rumors and have been speaking to various sources. And some within the ANC are saying that the president has been waiting for the opportune time to pull the trigger and reshuffle his cabinet. One can only speculate what will come out of the National Executive Committee meeting this weekend, which is currently sitting now. When it comes to the issue of the number of ANC leaders who've been charged with corruption, who now have to step aside, to the best of my knowledge, I am yet to see any of the ministers who've been charged or have issues of corruption hanging over their head, or is currently facing litigation over issues of corruption. I do know that there are some ANC members of parliament, like Bongani Bongo, who are in court over issues of trying to bribe Advocate Vanara when it came to that ESCOM inquiry in the 5th Parliament and the 5th administration. There are other issues of other ANC leaders like Zandile Kumete of Etegwini region, who's an RTT member there, and who's also a member, or who's just been sworn in as a member of the provincial legislature in that province. She is also part of those whom the president says must step aside with immediate effect from their positions of responsibility with regards to the charges of corruption. We've seen the stance that was taken by the province of KwaZulu-Natal by putting Kumete on a leave of absence or stepping aside.
Right. Samkele, these various letters that have been widely shared on social media, I guess it gives the public a window into the current state of affairs within the party. But what are ANC members saying to you with regards to the likely impact on the party?
What is pretty clear from these letters is that the ANC president, from our sources, have stuck to his guns when it comes to the open letter he issued out last Sunday to ANC members, saying that seemingly day by day the ANC is being tainted by issues of corruption. In that letter, the president goes on to say that he's not saying that all members or all and sundry of the African National Congress is corrupt, has benefited from proceeds of corruption, but the ANC day by day is being tainted by issues of corruption. But also the issue surrounding the issues of corruption ANC sources of the SABC within the ANC say that the president stuck to his guns and went further to say that the ANC is deservedly receiving a lot of criticism of its inability or seeming unwillingness to confront corruption head-on. So he basically ignored the letter of his predecessor, Jacob Zuma, when he spoke on the issues of corruption within the African National Congress, and saying the president of the ANC does not understand how the leadership of the ANC communicated with its members. It seems as if the president has taken his last week Sunday's letter straight into the National Executive Committee of the African National Congress and took it to his political nemesis and basically told them to their faces that the ANC is facing these issues of corruption of many leaders, and it needs to be dealt with, and the party is deservingly receiving this criticism due to its perceived inability and seeming unwillingness to confront corruption head-on, going as far as to saying that there is a distrust of the commitment of the African National Congress to fight those who face corruption against their own cadres who are accused of issues of corruption, basically saying the ANC is perceived to be an organization that's failing to deal with its own members.
You know, we're just looking at some footage of Samkele Maseko, the regional chairperson of the ANC in Ekurhuleni. You had a chance to interact with him yesterday. How did his utterances go down in the party?
They never thoroughly discussed Samkele Maseko's utterances, but the issue of Tony in the NWC meeting yesterday on Friday before the NEC started in the early afternoon did call on the president of the African National Congress to lead by example and step aside, and that was met with some refusal from some members of the NEC and some members of the NWC. When it went, and even in the NEC meeting, it was raised and it was faced with some resistance. Some NEC members supported the issue of the president stepping down. You remember that the NEC is not particularly united when it comes to the issue of President Ramaphosa. There are still those divisions between Ace Magashule, the Secretary General, and the President of the African National Congress. But the call specifically by Samkele Maseko for the President to step aside pending the finalization of his appearance within the Integrity Commission of the party was seemingly shut down by the NEC.
All right, Samkele Maseko, thank you very much indeed for your reporting. No doubt you have your ears to the ground. Come back to us with any further developments. Appreciate it. All right, that was Samkele Maseko, our political reporter, giving us some insight into what's happening at that NEC meeting. We're going to talk a bit more, get a perspective, flesh it out, so to speak. We're going to bring in Ntsikelelo, a breakfast political analyst, in a short while.